This week is going to test us in the most intimate of ways, Leo. And I have to say, fire signs, especially you and Aries, are going to really get hit the hardest because ultimately you are naturally individuals of action. Do, believe, courage, proceed, confidence. All of those adjectives are commonly associated with Leo. And they're imprinted onto the DNA and the character of every single person born into that sign. You know, at least confidence in something, right? Maybe not confidence in everything, but certainly confidence in something. But there is a questioning right now of what it is. Did I make the right choice? And it has to do with somebody else, it has to do with maybe a child in your life or a subordinate of some kind, somebody who maybe you were mentoring or something. Now, this whole week is more symbolic than it is literal, in that it's not so much the scenario that you're in and how much it will impact your life, but what it means and what it tells you about yourself. And that's really the predicament that you come up against right now, is this revelation about the self that you are having that is throwing you into conflict. Did I lead this person in the right direction? Why did I do it? Did I do it for me? Did I do it for them? Did I do it for my ego? Did I do it so that they would have an opportunity? And even if they had the opportunity, did I lead them into the right direction that was right for them? There is a self-doubt here, or a self-questioning that you start to have this week with regards to, how do I lead these people? How do I put them in the right direction? Is it the right direction? Is because it's the right direction for me, does that mean it's the right direction for them? Did I set them on this path? Did I limit them? It's almost like recognizing that in some ways, something that you did, or feeling something that you did, could have negatively impacted somebody else by putting them on a trajectory that may not be right for them. You know, including a path that kept them away from something that they would have been extremely good at, simply because you didn't want them to get too bogged down or carried away with too much money, or too much temptation, or like some like almost like you did it to protect them, but ultimately did you do what was right for them? Let me say this to you, Leo. It's not always about you. And I think that's really what's hardest for you to recognize. Is sometimes somebody has to, even if you were wrong, even if you are the contention in this circumstance, people have to, in their own life, stake their claim to their own life and somehow earn the beauty and abundance that comes into their life by being brave enough to defend themselves against an immovable force like you can be. It's almost like daring to look directly at the sun. This sense of, in some ways, they may be asserting themselves against you now, because ultimately what you told them is not working for them, or is in somehow they're recognizing, or you're recognizing, that I may not have given them the best advice. It's got something to do with abundance? No. It's got something to do with input from other people coming in. It's also got something to do, it does have something to do with abundance. Abundance as in luxury or indulgences. Maybe even in some ways opportunity. That it, because of out of a sense of loyalty, you wanted them to remain well. You wanted them to remain healthy. You wanted them to make good choices. You didn't want them to, fall down this path of just being overly concerned with shallow things that weren't really going to make them happy. But in doing so, you might have kept them off of a trajectory that they were really meant to do. And now you're sitting there questioning, like, well, why did I do this? This is about somebody being restrained from any opportunities to kind of like restrain, some sort of restraint, maybe self-restraint or basically restricting opportunities or choices in order to provide some sort of stability for somebody who was innocent, maybe even a child of yours. But ultimately, this child was somebody, there's like this innocent abundance. There's almost like this abundance that was meant to happen and meant to be. But in order to anchor them, you might have given them discipline or given them some advice in some way that ultimately cut off their abundance. Cut off everything that they could be, but you're doing it. Why? Because you don't want them to get wrapped up at a time in their lives when they need protection. It's almost like you're like red flagging this situation. You're maybe even micromanaging this situation because you don't want them to get carried away in all the craziness, all the indulgences. You don't want them to sort of like let like their brain to get demented from like having loyalty to luxury or shallow things. You care about this person a great deal. There is a sense of wanting to keep this love healthy. It matters to you, the relationship between you and this other person. And that not only that your relationship stays healthy, but that they stay healthy. Because you love them. That's why you care. And it's almost like in some ways that there's this big old payout waiting for them, right? But it's like easy. And it's almost like there's too much indulgence. There's too much temptation in this circumstance. And you know that they're not ready to handle it. It's like they're too young. They're too new. This is happening too quickly. It's coming too easily for them. And you don't want it to come easily for them. Not to make things harder for them, but simply because it's almost like too easy is the worst thing that could possibly happen. There's a lot of buzz around this. People are watching and people are talking. And there are opportunities here. But you're holding yourself back. Because you're very, very acutely aware that the way that you show up here, that the decisions that you make or where you invest your time is going to be commented on. And now you're wondering, was it fair of me to do that? Was it fair of me to restrict this person from all the abundance that was rushing to them? Was it fair of me to do that? Was it fair of me? Did I hold myself back too much? Did I restrain too much? Because we could all be talking about yourself too. Did I restrain myself or restrict myself too much for some sort of false sense of morality or obligation to do things in a certain way, worrying too much about what other people thought about my procedures and how I went about things, instead of just letting myself go and deciding on doing what was right for me, because ultimately there's something here, could be love of money. But see, I don't think so. I think this is like trying to keep a love healthy in lieu of a shit ton of money. When there's money involved. Almost your answer to the question was, okay, so we'll restrict this. We'll hold back from indulging. Because ultimately, that could just lead to a bunch of bad shit. But I feel like right now you're like, maybe that was the stupidest thing that could have ever done. The dumbest choice that I could have ever made. Let's get into this a little bit, Leo. You're feeling the restraints more than ever now. Let's put it that way. Some sort of restraint, like a decision that you made to restrain yourself from what could have been a potentially profitable situation for you is you're now questioning you're second guessing yourself. You're like, this might have been a really stupid decision, especially where it concerns a child, my child, maybe their future, and opportunities that they could have had. This is Cancerian energy. Magic works through. So you're the one in control of the situation. You're the one steering the energy. So it's all like weighing really heavy on you. And it does have to do with domestic space, because this is Cancerian energy. Something to do with you, and you feel like you're creating this. Maybe this could be very much your child or your home space. You're creating your home. Something that you're creating that is very domestic. Your home, your children, or both. And you're making decisions that impact their life, and you become acutely aware right now of how your decisions have impacted their life, whether they have obstructed their life. And that's what I think you're worried about. Maybe I've obstructed their life and how well they could have lived based on a decision I made, for the greater good, quote unquote. Seeing both sides of the story, or maybe seeing the other side way too much and reflecting too much on the contrary argument and taking it into consideration when you made decisions in your home for your heart space. Changing your mind. A total turnaround. I almost think it's almost like you, in some ways, you turned on yourself. And literally deconstructed yourself and redid your whole image in order to please others or appear a way that you wanted to appear to others. Like you had a persona in your head that you wanted to project, and so you did what you had to do to project that persona. It was a strategic move, maybe a foxy move, and maybe too much of an impetuous move. Because ultimately it was in a way of wanting to get attention, wanting to get more attention, wanting to sort of appear a specific way, look a certain way, and ultimately you may have made a decision that was too quick and too rash. This is Sagittarius energy, so it's kind of spontaneous, jumping into things, improv, but it's also wily and tricky. So in other words, you kind of like you were intentionally trying to manipulate a situation, and you're finding right now this energy of, holy shit, I might have fucked myself. You dove in, and now you're in it deep. So even though you didn't want to get into it deep, right? You thought that this was going to be a lot lighter and a lot easier than it actually was. And now you find yourself way in over your head, just surrounded by emotions, surrounded by tidal waves, like, a sense of gotta swim. But the last place that fire wants to be is surrounded by water, because now it's suffocating. And that's what I feel like. You started out, it was just like a simple thing. It was just this little thing, or, something that you thought that you could handle. And now it's kind of completely rolled over into something that's actually smothering you and suffocating you, or suffocating and restraining and restricting somebody else. And you're like, why did I tell them to do that? you threw everything in the line. And somehow you sacrificed yourself. You could have sacrificed yourself for the well-being of somebody else, thinking that you were doing this for the greater good. This is very Aquarian energy. Just diving right into the greater good. Time to let go. This is Scorpionic energy. I think that you have regrets big time. I know that this is a sincere part of you, that you want to do good and you want people to be happy, especially your tribe. But there is this sense of deep down inside, you are not as happy as you thought you'd end up. And you didn't realize that you'd be giving up as much as you ended up having to give up. And you've been hiding that. You've been like keeping that down inside. But ultimately, that's what's going to come up. It's what's going to be revealed. See, this is something new, something brand new that was hidden. Ultimately, I think you're thinking of, in some ways, another restart. Claim your independence. This is Aries energy. Wanting to get out of the situation, questioning the truth about your relationship and your want or desire to be in it. If it's not about a relationship, it's about a circumstance or a situation that's getting you to think with yourself, I didn't think this through. This is a lot heavier than I ever thought it would be, and it makes you long for the good old days when all you had to do was think about yourself. And there is a little bit of guilt there about thinking about how nice it would be to only have to worry about myself, to get away for a while. Or a sense of wanting to, like, insisting up, like, or this could be, right, insisting upon your will to the extreme degree, right? The sense of, I need my own space. I need to be who I am, no matter what the risks are to anybody else. And now you're looking back like, oh shit. See, now you're kind of more getting the perspective of the larger picture, the overall perspective of your actions, maybe their consequences or how far reaching the ramifications were. Now you're starting to see, and it's definitely got to do with Taurus energy. So it's got to do with finances. It's almost like first it's speaking to your finances first. Looking into the future, something to do with finances and financials. Embrace the in-between. Maybe not sure, not certain, trying to blend in some ways, to not stand out, which is very un-Leo-like to you. But ultimately, there's just a sense of not wanting to stick out as something special. Deciding to hold somebody, that's what we got, restraint, right? With the Lenormand cards, restrict somebody, restrain them, hold yourself back, restrict something that you could have gotten to sort of blend in. And this is why, because you thought it would be safer for your family. Ultimately, this is more Cancerian energy. It's all about that fourth house domestic space. You wanted to protect your family. And you thought blending in and restraining yourself, restricting yourself, holding back, sort of like not letting yourself shine as bright would ultimately be safer for your family. But now you're questioning those beliefs because you're starting to realize, holy shit, I restricted them from all that they could be. Not only did I cut myself off to protect them, but ultimately, did I protect them or did I compromise them? Take the lead. You're trying to be a good example. And this was definitely divinely guided. So you were asked almost by God or the gods, or, you know, this was definitely something that you felt driven to do. Deep in your heart, this is almost like a request from the ether, if you will, like a sense of you've been tapped. You know that you have a larger responsibility here. Buffalo energy. And you are protected. Or some sort of leader, some sort of matriarch or patriarch is protecting you and providing for you financially, helping you in some ways, or is at least setting an example of, no, this is about resources though. This is about somebody, maybe even just God itself, like coming down and sending you the resources that you need in order to like take care of you. But it's almost like you didn't really want to need the care. This is coming out though, and I think that that's what this is about. It's almost like messages about how you are still sort of like getting help from somebody, even though supposedly you weren't supposed to. You were supposed to be independent and all on your own, but ultimately it's like you are still getting help from somebody, and ultimately you don't like the idea that that's coming out, or people that realize it, or that people realize it, or you don't want in some way your children's future to be based on what you could provide for them. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to restrict all the resources that you could offer to them. It's like if I have these resources to offer, why shouldn't I be able to give that all to my children? In restraining and restricting those resources, aren't I also cutting off, opportunities that they might have had? For what? For my own sense of my duty to who? But then ultimately you also don't want to seem like you're needing too much or taking too much, and therefore are sort of overshadowed by the person that's giving it to you. Like, oh, you only have what you have because of them. You don't want that to be said. You wanted to basically transform yourself and start totally new. Like a brand new life is what you wanted. Because in some ways you felt like, I want to do this on my own. I want to build this on my own. I want to construct this on my own. Or I want my children to construct it on my own and be seen as like this thing that built themselves. And now you're questioning, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Because the resources I have are the resources I have. The blessings I have are the blessings I have. Why should I question the abundance that's been given to me or put in my life? There's some sort of, let's get into tarot. If you want to go over to tarot right now, please do click the link below. It's right in the description box, and we'll articulate all the specific details about this general reading, and that's in tarot, so please do join me. But first, please stick around, because I want you to stick around for the angel messages. They're such an important part of these readings, and they have such a beautiful voice of their own. This is for Leo, messages for Leo. Okay. Archangel Raphael, there's some sort of protection that it needs to go on here. It's like some sort of protective forces. And maybe it was you trying to be, like I said, protective of somebody. Here we go. Archangel Raphael, feel yourself surrounded by my emerald green light. I, Archangel Raphael, offer you healing and solace. The storm clouds will soon clear and the sun will shine eternally bright. Trust. So things are wonky right now and they aren't clear. So ultimately, the biggest challenge for you this week, Leo, is not doing anything. Not being reactionary, because you're going to want to take it onto yourself, Leo, to like fix this when something may not even need to be fixed. But that's the Achilles heel. That's where Pluto's plucking at you, trying to tempt you to overreact or be reactionary, to feel like the hero or the person, like to feel like you're helping out the situation, when ultimately the best thing that you can do right now is restrain yourself and wait. You have protection here. You are safe. Do not fear. We are with you always and surround you always with our invisible wings of light. I also feel like you are being protected. There's there's somebody protecting you from the worst of this fallout, the angels themselves, but it's also you want to protect somebody. Protection is a big thing here. Courage. You have what it takes. Just do it. We, your angels, are here to support you. Heart song. What is your heart saying? Stop and listen. Your truth lies within the empty spaces between your thoughts. Your truth shines through from within your soul. Your truth is that which is eternal and unchanging. Your truth is love. I think you need to get back to a stronger place inside yourself right now. And right now, the self-doubt is clouding your mind. So cure the self-doubt. Look to heal the self-doubt. Ask yourself why you're doubting. Take stock. Maybe you'll learn something about yourself that you really need to know right now. Positive thinking. Positive thinking is vital in creating a healthy and abundant life. A positive attitude along with positive beliefs and thoughts are crucial ingredients for creating happiness. Don't worry, think love. This is really interesting because it's all about, well, where are your thoughts? Maybe the only thing making this a negative situation is all of a sudden you started having doubts. And there's really nothing wrong with the actual situation. Clarity. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in the blue of the sky. Feel a gentle breeze flow through you. There is peace. There is clarity. A magical healing has just taken place, a gift from your guardian angel to just breathe. I think that's what you need right now, is a little bit of clarity, and the breath is the perfect place to start. Change. Life is a journey. It would be very unfulfilling if each step was exactly the same as the last. Because life is always changing, it is forever fresh and new. Allow your life to unfold gracefully. Be grateful for what was, is, and forever will be. So you are transitioning right now. And it's really not about you controlling the boat. It's about you trusting where the sails are taking you. If you fight this right now, you could do more damage. Archangel Uriel is here. A great spiritual transformation is currently occurring both in your life and in our world. This is the union of heaven and earth, spirit and matter. Heart and mind unite in harmonious balance. And it feels weird because we haven't been balanced in so long, we don't really even remember what it feels like. And that's the challenge right now, is to trust the recalibration that's happening, thinking that you need to react now. You need to not react. That's the temptation. Let's go over to tarot and get specifics. We need a little bit of articulation. The link is below. Leo, I'll see you over there.